And folks, we are live. Welcome to the latest edition of Bearded Fishing Chats. You guys, to say that I have been looking forward to this for a long time would be an understatement. This young man who I have on tonight happens to be family royalty. He is my cousin, Austin Roy. He is what some and what most of the world would probably consider a fly fishing expert, as I would consider him a fly fishing expert. He guides people in the art of fly fishing. It's almost as if it is a calling for this kid. I grew up fishing with Austin. We have a lot of good memories to go back on tonight. Austin's guided for Park City on the fly out in Utah. He has spread his wings, gotten to Wyoming. He is now with Fish the Fly out of Jackson Hole, Wyoming. Guys, this man does not need any more introduction. Austin, my man, it's been a long damn time coming, buddy. Welcome to Bearded Fishing Chats. How are you tonight, my man?
Oh, Colton. Hey, proud to be here, man. It's been way overdue for us to be chatting like this. So you know what? It almost feels weird talking this late. We've been talking about this for months now.
I know.
Come on now.
Oh my God. Yeah, I know, bro. It's been a long damn time, brother. And Austin, my mom has rolled in to the chat here. I will her chat up here real quick. I know you have not heard from my mom in a long time. I'm going to show her chat right now. And we have
Miss Lisa.
Yes, indeed.
Last time I saw Miss Lisa, she was squirting lemon juice in Uncle Greg's mouth because he was talking.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Kicking it old school, my man. Kicking it old school,
man. You could never have too much lemon juice, as Meme Roy would say.
Oh my God, Meme Roy. Yep, absolutely legendary stuff. I got my buddy Adrian on. I got my fiance Aja on. We're letting people roll in. Good to see everybody here tonight. Happy to have everybody here, and we're gonna get right into it. So, Austin, we grew up fishing together, bro. We know the game. We know the ins and outs of the game, but just kind of share with people like how you got into the fishing game. Share with people like what your journey was growing up with fishing and kind of where you're at now and just how you got there.
You know, we grew up, fishing out of that same old town red canoe that we had been fishing from a Mem and Pep's camp up on Taylor Pond. Yep. It's one of those things. We grew up fishing for smallmouth, largemouth, northern pike, the whole shebang. And, actually, it's funny you say that because trout was something, your brother, my cousin Evan, kind of introduced me to. That dang guy, we'd go down a little Androscoggin River and I'd have a little micro spinning rod with, my Uncle Brian and Kolb over here. And for some reason, we couldn't catch a dang fish. But Evan be over there, silent as a mouse. Wouldn't say anything. He'd just be casting that thing beautifully. And I'm like, what the heck's this guy doing? We saw the stocking report. These fish are here. At this point, we're sitting there. We're throwing little rooster tails and all that good stuff. And for some reason, that guy, he just caught more fish than us. And I'm sitting there going, I got to learn how to do that. And it was Evan. I didn't really know too much about fly fishing until my cousin, Evan came into the picture. And before that, we just did, bait casters, traditional spinning rods, all that stuff up on Taylor Pond. I mean, I'm not going to give away our secret holes or our spots or anything because I'll tell you, there's been a lot of work put into those things with rangefinders and all that good stuff, pinpointing all that, Hey, Taylor Pond's a small pond, but I'll tell you.
Yep, isn't that the truth?
Taylor Pond, Taylor Pond. So it's one of those things, we'd see the guys cruising around watching us catch fish left and right in the middle of the pond. They're like, what the heck's going on over here? Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Keep fishing your docks. Keep fishing your docks.
That's right.
I mean, I even remember that first, the motorboat that Evan bought, that blue one. Didn't have an open bow or anything, the old boat, and we'd go out there, and that was when we first got the fish finder. I'll tell you, that was a game changer. We thought we knew what we were doing until we found a fish finder. That fish finder, man, oh my God. And Evan's pinpointing things on that thing, setting pins so we know where to go back to. And I swear, man, that boat changed it up that way. Because I'll tell you, the golden rule of the camp was you don't fish off any of the pontoon boats. You fish off the pontoon boats.
Isn't that the truth? Isn't that the truth?
You're in for it, man. You didn't try and fish off the pontoon boats. You tried doing that. You came back with a lure. It smelled like worms. Hell, you were going to answer the call to Regis.
No, that's right. That's right, buddy. That's right.
He was not messing around. I'll tell you that. Hey, you love two things in life. You love this dog and you love that boat.
That's exactly right. That's so good. That is so true, man. So now your first experience with fly fishing, man, and of course we know my brother Evan, very very influential on both of our fishing journeys. He was almost like our mentor, if you will. Now, what was your first experience like fly fishing? Explain how that felt, that first experience of getting that fly into the water.
So I had a good buddy in high school named Ben, and he was from the Minot area, as we call it back home, Minot.
That's right.
um, him and his dad, they'd go up to the Allagash and do a bunch of fly fishing, all this stuff. And I was really intrigued. I wanted to learn some of the local water and figure out how this is all really working. And so we went to LL Bean, down in Freeport, flagship store, picked myself up just a normal kit, comes with everything, your fly line, your leader, little tackle box full of a couple flies to get you started. I remember going out there and watching him, whip this thing around. And I'm like, for some reason, this leader seems way too long. How the heck do you cast this thing without catching the trees? So we're, navigating through this, we're wading in the water and he's catching all these fish. And I'm like, what the heck's going on here? And I'll tell you, we were dry fly fishing. So everything, subsurface or on the top.
Yeah, of course.
A lot of things have to go right for that fish to come up and take that off the top.
Yeah.
And I'm watching him do it and he's throwing these beautiful casts, getting these fish to come up for him. I'm like, what the heck is going on here? And all of a sudden I realized you could teach a man how to dry fly fish in 10 minutes. It's going to take him 5 to 10 years to start catching fish because it's all about that presentation. Yeah. It's all about, knowing where those fish are. You're floating that leader or that fly line over the top of them. Dude, a lot of these fish nowadays they've been fished to so often. So they're going to look right away from you. Even back where I guided in Utah, man, we used to take Sharpies. That's the best thing you can have as a fly fisherman is a good box of Sharpies in your bag because we color our flies. I mean, my hooks for dry flies, I color the bottom of those black because those fish come up, they see the shine of that hook and they refuse it. They know that shine, man. People instantly think, fish dumb. No, these fish are smart. They catch on with stuff and they understand that you're fishing to them. So if that presentation is not almost pretty close to perfect, they're not going to come up for that.
Yeah, and man, like what's kind of interesting too is that like people do think these fish are dumb. People think that just because these fish are stacked up and that they're there, that means they must be dumb. But you made a good point. The second they see that flash on the hook, especially if those are bigger fish, mature fish, that day is over, man.
Absolutely. I mean, even for, I've been blessed out west, fishing a lot of our streams aren't stocked. These are all wild fish.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, fighting a wild fish compared to a stock fish, they're going to take you for a ride.
Night and day.
And that's one thing I love talking to people about is, these are naturally reproducing fish.
Yeah.
That's why, as guides during the spawn, we take a break. We're not fishing for them. We're not pegging eggs. We're not drifting eggs through them. We want to let those big mature fish do their thing because if we don't let them do their thing, we're not going to have a great fishery next year. And that's a big thing. A lot of the sport, it's more sport fishing out here. I've got a couple clients here and there that want to, catch and cook, which is totally fine. But I always make the joke to them. Those are my coworkers. I got to go back and catch those guys tomorrow. Like it does happen. There's some runs or some areas I fish where I know I've caught that fish a couple days ago because it has a hanging lip on it. I always clip that lip off, so I'm not reeling in lips with my clients. I'd rather get the fish in than just have a little lip on the end of that thing.
That a boy. That is exactly how it's done. So, Austin, this year, and maybe over the past 2 years, we've been in a bit of a drought on this part of the country, and a lot of people have talked about fishing being difficult because of water conditions being low. And even if you're into things like duck hunting, very, very tough too with lack of water. Without kind of giving away all your secrets, how does one handle fishing droughts?
So a big thing is, the river I was guiding on, the past 3.5, 4 years, we had really low water. This past year we had a record-breaking snow in Utah. I think we broke 900 inches. So we had a big river this past year.
Yeah.
The previous handful, I mean, it's been low. So usually we gauge our stuff in cubic feet per second. So normally the river I'm fishing the past couple of years has been anywhere from 200 to 300 cubic feet per second, which when you get fish, they're going to be very skittish. They can see you. If you can see that fish, they can see you.
Absolutely.
So a big thing is, my favorite thing is your tippet or your fly line that you come out of the floating stuff, keep sizing down. We're mainly fishing anywhere from 6 to 7X back in Park City, which is essentially a 2.5, 2-pound line, which to get a beginner to catch a fish on a 2.5-pound line, you really got to nurse that fish. You got to let them run. You got to let them do their thing. And when they're ready, you gain that line. But if you try and bully those fish in, good luck, man. You're going to straighten hooks. You're going to snap off line. And as a guy, there's nothing I hate more than re-rigging, 10 times a day. We got our tricks and tips on how to kind of avoid some of that stuff. But biggest thing we're trying to do is give success to our clients, but also letting them know the manner is it's up to the fish. A big line we throw around in the guide community is guide, not God. If these fish aren't eating, I'll throw the kitchen sink at them. But if they're not eating, then they're not eating. At the end of the day, you get into that spot, it might be a little too warm, a little too cold. Somebody fished it out before you. And once you get into that aspect, that's where, learning your bugs and knowing what these fish key into really goes a lot further is the biggest thing. But if I had to say, size down on your bugs and size down on your tippet. If they can see that line, you're in trouble. I mainly run fluorocarbon. It's not as, it doesn't have that shine, like monofilament or nylon has. It blends in super, super well. So that's usually my go-to for it.
Yeah, no, man, that's some really good insight. And just, seeing some of the water conditions here the past 3 years or so, it's just kind of been scary. And it's almost like you have to invent a new way to do it. It's almost like you have to adjust to the territory at that point.
Absolutely. And especially for us down that way, every guide I know, we're throwing the same type of rig. We call it the Provo River Bounce rig back in Utah. It's, a little piece, probably about 3-4 foot butt section from your fly line down to your monofilament. And then what I usually do is I tie a micro swivel because I retie a lot with beginner fly fishermen. I don't want to have to worry about doing blood knots and triple surgeon knots and all that stuff every day. Then I probably I got a big wingspan. I got lanky arms, man. I'm a lanky man. So I usually go my wingspan, which is probably about, if we can, we're looking from anywhere from 7.5 to at least 9 feet deep. Yeah. And you can adjust that. We put a bobber on the top. In the fly fishing world, the old timers like to call it a strike indicator. It's a bobber, man. You're looking at a bobber. It's a bobber. There's a bunch of cool fly shops and companies nowadays that have hats to say it's a bobber, bro. And I'll tell you, it drives the old heads crazy. But you know what? At the end of the day, it is. And we typically use that because, especially in the fishing we do, you're not always going to feel that fish like when you're fishing or conventional spin fishing. You're looking at that bobber. You see that bobber start ticking upstream. That's how you know you have that fish. And that's when you can set that hook. You don't have that bobber, some of the, guys that are pretty seasoned at this stuff, they don't use bobbers. They know the feeling. But for our beginners, we're using a nice little foam bobber. I usually use the thingamabobbers or the air, I believe they're called the airlocks. Great bobber system. They stay float really well. But the biggest thing is, if you're a beginner, you're not going to know what that take looks like. That's why we use those bobbers.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, no, that's some really good insight. Guys, would like to give a shout out to everybody watching on Facebook right now too. I got this live streaming on YouTube and on Facebook. Talking to my main man, Austin Roy here. If you're new in the chat right now, guys, hit that like button. If you're new to the chat here, you guys, please hit that subscribe button. Subscribe to my channel here, Bearded Fishing Chats. Now, Austin, you know what's interesting, buddy? I think that we've talked really just at length over the phone about this. How has social media changed fly fishing as you can see it, and just fishing in general, man? Because you and I, and even myself and Evan, we brought up Evan earlier. We talk in depth about how much social media, for better or worse, has kind of impacted the game. How do you see that in your own perspective?
So I think it's been good and bad. The good of it is it's exposing, some of these fly shops that weren't necessarily, big time fly shops. They're getting that, more of that exposure now because they're posting pictures of, their guides and their clients or beautiful scenery and
Yeah.
stuff like that. But the downside of it is what we like to call it is hero shots. You get the guys that are holding that fish out of the water and they're all excited to take that picture. They got the background behind them and all that, which it's fine if that's your cup of tea. But a big organization we work with, it's called Keep 'em Wet. At the end of the day, you don't need those hero shots taking that fish out of the water. A big thing is that I really want to stress is making sure you're wetting your hands before you're handling fish.
Yeah.
Fish have the reason fish are so slimy is they have, a layer on them that protects them from disease. So if you go into that fish with a dry hand, you're going to take that slime layer off of them and you'll see these little white patches and little bumps and lumps on them. That's not necessarily always, natural. That's from people mishandling fish. So a big thing, especially when I'm guiding, first couple fish we'll take pictures with. After that, I handle the fish. I make sure that my fish are going to be reproducing and they're going to be healthy when they're at the end of, fighting, because it's a big fight for these fish. A lot of people don't understand that all the time, but the biggest thing I can stress is, wetting those hands. But as far as social media, it's funny, there was a 25-inch brown trout caught on our local river we guide, and I think every guide service and their brother took a picture of that thing and put that thing online. We were all catching the same damn fish. So at this point, it's like, yeah. Okay, what, you know what I mean? At this point, forget it. Don't worry about it. Everybody's seen that fish, and then you have that hole. So every single day, you got, Joe Schmo over here with his headlamp on,
Yeah.
running out into the river trying to find his spot. And you get there and you're like, well, this guy already beat me out here. He's got his headlamp on because he knows that fish is in that spot. I'll tell you, a big fish like that, especially in the river system, the biggest fish in the river, he's going to be nocturnal. He's going to come out at night for that one meal, whether it be a rodent, mouse pattern, another bait fish, and then he's going to sit down in the deepest part of that hole and he's going to wait all day.
Absolutely.
They don't need, my one of my fellow guides, two of them actually, Max and Bennett. Bennett's actually one of my roommates. They had some clients that caught this huge 25-inch fish. He was eating a size 24 bling midge at 3 p.m. Why he was doing that, I couldn't tell you. And for perspective of people that aren't, too educated as far as fly sizes, a 24 midge is almost impossible to see. What he was doing eating that, I couldn't tell you. But at the end of the day, hey, you caught him. Good on you. But as soon as we handled that fish, we took a couple pictures with it, right back in the river. Because that fish is going to keep that river reproducing at the end of the day.
And it's so true. And what's interesting is that Evan and I have talked about like big trout like that, and especially like brown trout, especially like big brown trout. Brown trout are very, very nocturnal, as far as like feeding patterns go, and sorry about that, everyone. Looks like we had some technical difficulties here. Sorry about that, everyone. trying to get Austin back in here.
There we go.
Austin, buddy, sorry about that. I think that we cut out there for a second, but yeah, bro. So it's very, very interesting that you mentioned those big fish hanging out in the pools, because I mean, Evan and I, like I said, we've talked over the years about how nocturnal like brown trout are, especially, and like how those really big ones come out at night, because like you can even go in the lakes if you wanted to at night, and you could catch a really big brown trout and just make it happen, just like that. So definitely some very, very good insight there. Now, so we talked also too recently how with guides and just fishermen and hunters in general these days have a hard time getting access to private land if they want, good spots for their clients. And even if you're just the everyday hunter or fisherman, that is just a project in and of itself. Kind of talked about how, kind of go into how that changes like your dynamic, like as a guide, and kind of explain to me like how those processes have worked for you.
So the private property stuff is real tough, especially in Utah. It's tough, especially Wyoming, real tough. They own the bottom of the river. At that point, even if a lot of guys have invested in rafts or boats, doesn't matter. You can't, if you drop that anchor and that anchor touches the bottom of the bottom of that river, you're trespassing. And it's been real tough. Back where I was in Park City, we used to fish the Provo River, which is no secret. It's very great blue ribbon trout stream. Right 15 minutes down the road out of Park City. We were mainly on the middle Provo. The middle Provo has great access. Once you get down the lower Provo, the whole lower Provo is pretty much bought up now. There's some guy, I don't know the whole logistics of it, but he owns, the whole bottom of the river. So if you want to wade fish or if you want to float your boat, you got to go see the campground and you got to pay to use that access, which, before I got there and everything, that was a natural resource. How that flipped, I'm not too in depth with it. We have a great organization in Utah called Utah Stream and Correlation Access, which these guys fight left and right. They've been in the courts, figuring everything out, trying to, reason with these people and figure out, why are you taking all this public land? A big thing that we have as an issue down on our lower section of the river is we have a lot of tubers, that just, go and float the river for a leisurely afternoon in the summer, just go for a nice little float in your tube, have a couple drinks, a couple soda, a couple Diet Cokes. If you're in Utah, if you're down by Provo, the Mormons don't drink, but they're having their Diet Cokes and their orange juice and all that good stuff. But at the end of the day, they tried to blame a lot of the trash on the fishermen. And we're sitting there going, they're trying to blame all this trash and stuff on the fly fishermen. And we go, I said, if you ask a single fly fisherman, look at his net when he comes off the river. He's got bottles, he's got cans, whatever you can think about. They pack their stuff out because we don't want to ruin our natural resource. They're finding, flip-flops, coolers, beer cans everywhere. I mean, there's one pullout I used to love when I used to float my raft down that section. There were trash bags everywhere. I had a lady come down one time and she goes, you fishing guides are the problem. I'm like, it's funny you say that because look at my net. It's full of cans. It's full of cans and trash. I make my living on this river. Why would I trash it? One of those things. And unfortunately, it's been really tough down there. There's been a really big lawsuit going on with the Department of Natural Resources in Utah, the specific campground, the USAC, and all that good stuff. And the toughest thing that we're battling with right now is they're not giving. They want that property because you know what? They can charge people 30, 40, 50 bucks to fish that property a day. And what they can say is, I'm only going to let 10 to 15 people or anglers fish this 5-mile section a day, which is great. I love private access as much as the next guy.
Oh yeah.
But for, the people that are making a living on the river and the people that are just visiting the river, they don't want to have to go through these Facebook groups and these apps to figure out where they can fish. They just want to pop over to the river, give it a shot, and go home. A lot of
I
these
agree.
guys they're not causing trouble. If you tell them, hey, you're on private property, most people are going to be like, hey, you know what? I'm sorry. I did not know. I'll leave right now. And that's how it's been for a lot of us. Even that lady that I said that was getting all upset when we were fishing down that way, she goes, you need permission from us to guide down here. And I go, this is why I don't guide down here. I guide on the section above you because I don't want to deal with that. At the end of the day, it's a bad experience for your clients because you mess up. Let's say you mess up one day and the law just changed and you're in a private section. All of a sudden somebody's coming up to you going, hey, your credibility is out the window. You're at the point where these people are like,
even if it's not your fault.
Exactly. And that's
even if it's
some of the older guides, that have been doing this, 25, 30 years, they go, hell with it. I'm going to fish that. And I don't care. I've been fishing this since I was a kid. I don't care.
Yeah.
Me on the other hand, I'm like, you know what? I'm okay. I'll go somewhere else. A big rule of thumb for me is I don't leave fish to find fish, but I don't fish where I can't fish.
I like it. And, there really is more politics in this than people realize. And in fact, I even told you that, people go through similar stuff when they're duck hunting even. And it sucks because truthfully, my man, and you and I both know this, and we probably had these conversations with my brother too. People who fly fish are the people who take care of the land. There is no doubt about it that there is such a big conservation aspect to fly fishing, and people who fly fish just have a different type of mentality in regards to conservation, taking care of the land. They're some of the best people you can find. So I have no clue why somebody would just outright tell you, hey, you fly fishermen are the problem. It's like, no, fly fishermen are the damn solution. Fly fishermen are the people who conserve and who do that type of stuff. So yeah, man, it's just crazy to think that there's all those politics involved.
And that was a big reason of moving up to the Jackson area. We have, it has the same laws. They can own the bottom of the river here. The best laws are up in Montana. If you're under the high water mark, which is as high as that river has ever been, way up in the canyon. If you are under that watermark, you can walk through the river as much as you want.
Wow.
In Jackson, we have a couple stretches that are, quote unquote private property, but we just avoid them. At the end of the day, it is what it is. We're not too worried about it. From what I've heard from some of the local guides here is we love this area because of the access. And, at that point, for me, that's great because we're teaching, a lot of the time, we get our destination anglers. I got my guys that know what they're doing and they just want me to tie on the right fly or the right rig and go, hey, let me net fish for you all day. That's a day off for me. I love it.
There you go.
Point, I just sit back on the bank. I got my net in my hand. All right, another one. Yeah, let me net them, unhook them. Boom, let's get another one. We have great days, but our bread and butter is, especially Park City and Jackson, they want either the Wyoming experience, they want to ride a horse, they want to go hiking in the Grand Tetons, they want to go fly fishing. In Park City, same thing. They want to walk around the mountain, walk around the town, and they want to see this Western way of life and be like, why do you guys love this so much? It was a great quote. I'm probably going to butcher it, but many men don't go out, or anybody doesn't go out to always catch the fish. It's not always about the fish. That's what I tell people. I say, look up from that bobber, look up from that fly, look where you're at right now. You're in a beautiful mountain range. We're in a great canyon. It's not always about the fish because, especially in fly fishing, it takes a little bit of time to get good at it, and luckily we've had great success with our clients. I've only had a handful of clients in my handful of years of doing this not catch fish, but they want to catch that fish. They want to put it on Instagram and show all their people back in Texas, New York, California. I went fly fishing, and for me, a reason I chose guiding was I like fly fishing. I like catching the fish, but I love when it clicks in somebody's head when they catch the fish.
Yeah,
that's what does it for me. We've been working all morning, 2 hours, 3 hours. putting everything, putting really everything together, making that perfect drift, that perfect presentation, boom, it clicks and they get that fish on. That's why I do what I do. I could be like all the guys and I could go chase big fish and fish all over the Western United States if I want. But what fills my cup is people catching the fish. And that's why I love the guide.
Yeah, man. And I think that there's probably something very satisfying about you being there to I guess facilitate that good fishing experience for somebody.
Mm-hmm. And another big reason I moved to the Wyoming area is I prefer rowing boats.
Oh, sweet. Yep.
I prefer rowing boats. I want to navigate rivers. I want to see miles. I don't want to see 1 or 2 spots. I want to see 8 to 12 miles.
There you go.
If it's not fishing in the top, it might be fishing in the middle, it might be fishing in the bottom, but you're not going to know unless you float through it. And, not saying, I'm a great oarsman or anything like that, but you get these guys that have been in these boats for a long time and you don't have to be that good. These guys on these oars, they'll put you right into those fish. I mean, some of these guys, the way they work these sticks, I mean, it is unbelievable. And, I've put in, just about 3 years of rowing experience, navigating rivers from, the North Platte and Casper, Wyoming to, the Green River in Utah and Wyoming, the Snake River, the Lower Provo River. And, a big thing is some guys, they just don't want to row. I enjoy what I tell a lot of people is I'm a glorified water shoveler. I shovel water for a living, man.
I'm a glorified water shoveler.
I shovel water, man. I love to do it. And it's one of those things that, like I said, I love when that clicks in their head and those people catch that fish. And that's why I do what I do.
Dude, yeah. And, man, that's just a very inspiring story, just in general, man. Now, what is it?
Cole, actually, it's funny because I started guiding so I could work my summers away and ski all winter is what I really anticipated doing. So I put in through March through just about November of guiding. And then I try and work part-time and ski Utah and Wyoming powder, as we call it in Wyoming, call it cowboy powder. When that snow starts falling, man, all I want to do is put the skis on and go skiing. And that's, mom and dad, if you're watching, I'm sorry. But I try, I try to work my summers away so I can ski powder, man. And if you talk to a lot of guides, that's their anticipation. We want to take advantage of the natural resources as much as anybody can. But I put in anywhere from 100 to 125 days on the river a year, if not more. And I bank that money and I try and ski, man. That's it.
That's the way to do it, my man. That is the way to do it. Taking advantage of the snow.
Absolutely.
Taking advantage of the snow. So, Austin, so now let's kind of revisit like the conservation aspect of all this. What are some things that people can do to get more involved with conservation?
So I think, donating to your local Trout Unlimited
is
really
old school.
A huge thing. Old school, man. Those live on. We have a great tradition we do here in Jackson. It's called the One Fly Challenge. We have hundreds, if not thousands, of anglers come out to Jackson Hole, and you get to fish one fly of your choice whole weekend. So it goes by fish size, count, all that stuff, and all that money goes to local rivers. And that's the biggest thing you can do, because at the end of the day, if we don't have a river and we don't have fish, what the heck are we going to do? People want to experience, especially in the Jackson area, we're mainly catching fine spotted or Snake River cutthroat or fine spotted cutthroat. Here and there, get a brown trout, get a cut bow, stuff like that. But people want to catch, we call it the pumpkin of the river. Beautiful orange fish, great slashes right under its neck. I mean, it's the crown jewel of this area. And the best part about it is they love eating big dry flies. So, I mean, it's beginner friendly stuff over here. You don't have to be a master angler throwing these little flies and, this long tippet that you're having a hard time casting. No, man.
Yeah.
You throw a big foam bug at them, a chubby Chernobyl, salmon flies, hoppers, and they're going to come up and they're just going to clobber it. And that's that's where, for me, when you see that fish swimming up and coming to that fly and he comes and takes it off the surface, man, we have a lot of people. Hey, I'll tell you, we have a lot of people miss them because you see that fish and you get so excited and you just pull that fly back, man. You gotta wait because these cutthroat are super slow. They come up and gently sip it, and as soon as that head goes down to the water, that's when game's on.
Dude, that is what it's all about. So before we get back into the conversation here, we'll take a few questions from the audience. I do not believe I've seen Tony Roth in here, but Tony, welcome. Austin, I will have you read this question, and you can kind of explain it out, my man.
So is your guide job a parks job, like jobs taking care of the national parks? So we actually in Utah, we don't work with the parks. I am what they would consider a subcontractor. I get contracted by fly shops. I've been solo with Park City on the Fly for just about, this is my third year with those guys. I was their lead guide this past year. And what we do is we're mainly fishing public access. Anything that you could fly into Utah and you could go fish the same areas I'm fishing. We don't have any private access or anything special. We take people right to natural resources. The national park stuff, is more taken care of by our forest rangers, our Department of Natural Resources, and stuff like that. Granted, the tough part about the rivers I came off of in Utah is we didn't have a big game warden, as we consider it back home in Maine, or Department of Natural Resource presence. The guides enforced it. So back where I had been fishing, the limit was 2 fish per day under, I want to say 14 or 15 inches. And it was no, the section I normally fish was artificial flies only. So you can't use live bait. There are sections for that. But what happens is we have a lot of people that come out and they're fishing with real worms. The thing that, for me, if I'm guiding some clients, downstream from you and you're above me and you're using a real worm, you're going to hose me out. I'm going to look like Joe Schmo that just came off of the Greyhound bus from freaking wherever. And they know that scent, they know that movement of that real worm. But when you're using real worms, they're swallowing that. So you're essentially fishing that stomach. You're fishing that fish from the stomach out. With flies, what happens is as soon as that fish tastes that metal, they're trying to spit it. That's why it ends up in the corner of their mouth each time. So you're not worried about, when you're having to use the pliers and your horn pouting back in Maine, you got to get those pliers down in there because they swallow that horn pout all the way down to their tail. No, we don't worry about that. They're either hooked right in the roof or right in the corner of the mouth because they're trying to spit that. As soon as you set that hook, boom, that's right in that corner of their mouth. So a big thing that we have to deal with is bait fishermen. And I hate being the guy to have to call DNR. I usually give them a heads up. Hey, listen, you can't do that here. If you go, 8 miles downstream, you can bait fish. But we've had guides that have made, $1,000, $1,500 a day by calling in poachers. Like we go out at night and people set up trout lines. We're kicking down trout lines and all this stuff because if you want to catch the biggest fish in the river, all you got to do is use a freaking night crawler. Use a night crawler, man, you're going to catch a 18 plus inch fish. No doubt. Absolutely no doubt. Because those big fish, like you said, they're smart. They've been hooked a couple times. They're not big for no reason. So they're not going to just eat anything that comes their way.
Man, you could not have said it better. That is the way to do it. Austin, we're going to give a shout out to a few people in the audience right now, my man. I am going to give some quick shout outs. Guys, please excuse me. My StreamYard is a little slow tonight, so it's taking me a little while to pull up people's chats, but thanks for bearing with us. Elizabeth, thank you so much for being in here. I appreciate you being in here. Amanda, appreciate you being in here. Uncle Greg, Aunt Mo, appreciate you being in here. Mom, appreciate you being in here. Tony, thank you. Guys, thank you for everybody in here. Aja, thank you for being in here. Thank you, everybody, for watching. I appreciate you guys being here. Now, Austin, Aja asked a question here. And like I said, my StreamYard is a little bit slow tonight, a little bit sluggish. So she wants to know what is a good way to encourage kids to get into conservation?
Getting them out to the water.
Getting them out to the water.
Get them to the water. A big thing is, that's a big thing I did in Park City. We took kids up to, age 8. We took young kids out, and I had a lot of kids that it clicks and a lot of kids that it didn't. I had
Yep.
I suffered
Yep.
my broken rods and losing, 20, 30 flies that day. But the biggest thing is, I'd say get them out. You got to get them on the water. You get them on the water, they're going to realize how great of a resource this is. I mean, Christ, I remember being at, the camp up at Taylor Pond, and Mame not telling me, but encouraging me to go out on the dock and fish. And this is when I was scared. I'm a guide now. I was scared to handle fish as a kid. My grandmother would come out there and take the fish off the dang hook for me.
Yeah.
Okay, we didn't sit inside and watch TV or none of that.
No,
I woke up in the morning and I went straight to the lake and I fished. My grandma would be like, it's too hot. These fish ain't gonna bite. I don't care. I'm gonna try anyways.
Yep, that's right.
It didn't matter. It was one of those things I had a very high respect for, especially where we grew up, Taylor Pond. It's a hidden gem.
Oh yeah.
I don't tell too many people about it, but
no.
If you got that if you got that lake figured out, or pond, for matter of fact, it's a great place to be. I mean, I wouldn't trade in any of my late nights with the flashlights out, or the bug lanterns out with you and Evan.
Those were the days, man.
Or canoeing out to the cove. I mean, come on now. Every time we get Uncle Stramone in town.
Uncle Stramone, oh my God, Uncle Stramone. I think that he might be in the chat. Uncle Stramone, oh my God, holy crap! I get Uncle Stramone. If somebody give him a shout out, Brian Roy, aka Jimmy Stramone, aka what other nicknames for that guy?
Oh man, I don't even know. A little Sammy Sosa. I mean, come on now.
I see he calls him Sammy Sosa. Come on now. That's right. Come on now.
If you saw that guy with a wiffle ball bat, I mean, come on.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Oh my God.
But I mean, I swear, I look forward to when he came into town, because I knew all we were going to do was fish. Whether, Uncle Brian, I know if you're in this chat, you're going to hate me for saying this, but going to Biddeford Pool, we're like, come on, Uncle Brian.
Come on, man.
We go to Biddeford Pool every year, man. We don't catch shite. Like,
that's right. Oh my God.
Let's just go back to Taylor Pond and Little Andro, and let's call it a day and let's catch some fish.
Let's call it a day and catch some fish. And, he used to say, if we're going to be miserable, we might as well be miserable close to home, right?
Absolutely. Him and his trouser trout. That was his favorite one. I can't say I don't use that one from every once in a while out this way.
Oh my God.
He catches one of these little fish, and that's what we call a trouser trout around here.
Oh my God, he used to have his just classic like one-liners. Oh my God.
Oh my goodness.
Just so funny.
Between him and Uncle Craig, Uncle Greg, God, I don't think I would have even had a boat growing up if it wasn't for that guy. I don't even know how many John boats that guy bartered work for me. God, I used to have one John boat. We used to park it on the side of Pep's dock, and he used to come out every morning. Austin, it's filled with water. This thing's leaking. Get this thing out of here. I go, Pep, you just bail it out real quick and you're good to go. He goes, I don't know.
You sound exactly like you do.
He goes, I don't know. I go, Pep, I promise. This thing's sturdy. It's like, well, it's halfway underwater. I go, it's character.
Regis.
Oh man, Regis. Oh man.
Regis. What a guy. Oh man,
my God.
Too many amazing memories, my man. So what we'll do is that we'll branch out to a few more topics here, and we'll call it a night, my man, here pretty soon. But guys,
here, Cole, give me a 30-second intermission real quick.
30-second intermission.
30-second intermission.
All right, guys. So again, I want to thank everybody for being here. Like I said, Amanda, Elizabeth, Mom, Aja, Aunt Mo, Uncle Greg, Tony, Adrian. Thank you guys all for being here tonight. Thank you all who are watching on Facebook. Again, please make sure that you subscribe to the channel. I am on with my cousin Austin tonight. And Austin, we've been trying to plan this show here for a hell of a long time. He's finally on. I see that my Uncle Pete is on too. Good to see you here tonight, sir. Good to see you here tonight. It's been a long time. Uncle Greg is on. Good to see family in the chat. I know we've been telling the family about this for quite a long time. So very, very good stuff, everybody. So a couple of upcoming announcements here that I have on the show. Todd and I, Todd is the owner of Dakota Anglers. It's a bait shop here in South Dakota. And he puts on the second biggest ice fishing convention in the country, you guys. After Thanksgiving, he and I are going to be doing a live in-person interview at his shop. So please stay tuned for that. I hope you guys can all watch that. Todd is a hell of a good guy. He's introduced me to things around here. Excellent guy. I hope you guys are watching. Austin's back on. Austin, your dad is in the house. Apparently, Evan Roy is in the house. Listening in. Evan Roy is in the house listening. A big shout out to Evan Roy. And honestly, man, I don't know if you or I would have been here without Evan. Let's just give credit where it's due.
Absolutely.
He is the OG of fishing, man. Like he really got us into this. And of all the people I could say who inspired me to do this channel, it was my grandfather and it was Evan. Those were the guys who integrated me into fishing growing up. And honestly, man, I know that you and I have such a tremendous respect for Evan and his fishing abilities, man.
Oh, big thing is if I could tell Evan, hey, if you're on this show, I always get a job for you, man, out west. I'd love to have you out here, man. I'd love to have you out here. God, he'd be a kid in a candy store. It's actually funny because I remember, as a little kid, Evan talking about it at the camp and being like, fishing guide? Who the hell does that? Looking at 20 years down the road. I'm like, are you kidding me right now? I'm like, Mom, what's a fishing guide? 20 years down the road, look where I'm at. I'm like, God, I would have thought that guy would have been a fishing guide, between his knowledge and, especially at the state of Maine, I'd love to get back to the state of Maine to guide. Right. I would love it. There's spots back home that, that nobody knows where the heck to go, because if they do, somebody spoke in the family, and out here, it's one of those things, up in the Allagash, between Andover, Maine, the Rapid River, Grand Lake streams, up in down East Maine, around the New Brunswick. The fishing up there is outstanding. Everybody thinks, the creme de la creme is out here out west, and we make it a little bit more of a priority, and our rivers are a little bit easier to access. Back home in Maine, if you want to go fishing, you're in for it. You better have a CD radio and a couple fishing poles, because you might break one just walking in.
That's right.
It's a different ball game out there.
Oh, bro, you know what? I couldn't have said it better myself. And we were talking about the man himself, Mr. Evan Roy, just left us a chat. He says original gangster, because I called him the OG of fishing. So the OG of fishing is officially in the chat. Austin, my man, we will get it wrapped up here, buddy. Guys, I'm going to leave a link to Austin's guiding service that he works for. So if any of you catch this show after it airs live, if you guys watch the replay and you guys are looking to get out of state, I'm going to send you a link to his company that he guides for. And Austin and I will probably hang out and talk a little bit after the show. I have sincerely appreciate everybody coming in here. Austin, give us the final word with who you're working for now and where they can find you if they want to hire you for your services.
This upcoming season, I'll be with Fish to Fly out of Jackson Hole, Wyoming. Anything you want, JB, our head guide and our owner, he's got you covered. Whatever. I'm not going to speak of all the rivers we guide out here, because I might get my teeth knocked in if I talk about all that. But if you want to float the Snake River, we're one of a few guide services that have the permit to float it. But if you want to get into some, backcountry stuff in Yellowstone National Park, down on the prairies of Wyoming, you give us a call, because we service it all. And the guys that I work with, they love the fish and they love it, and all they want to do is be in a boat. So that's about it, man.
Awesome, man. Awesome, man. Well, Austin, you and I will hang out after the broadcast. You guys, one final word from me. Please subscribe to the channel if you have not done so. Ice fishing season's coming up. I'm going to be having a lot of content straight from the ice. You guys are going to love that. Like I said, Todd with Dakota Anglers is going to be on the show here shortly after Thanksgiving. Date to be determined. It'll be announced. You guys, again, let's please give Austin props tonight for being an awesome guest. I mean, man, we've been talking about this for months. This was such a long time coming, man. And it was a true honor, brother. Thank you for coming on the show tonight, my man.
Absolutely, Cole. We're going to run it back here soon. We'll do some more of these. We'll do some more of these.
We will absolutely run it back. Well, Austin, hang out with me after the show here, you guys. Guys, have an excellent evening. And again, thank you so much for tuning in. I always appreciate it.